Welcome to the McKinley Diaries, 21 years on, with myself, Nigel Vardy. We are on day 5, the 4th of May, 1999. And the day started quite interestingly, because it says here, after an early morning saga with Steve and the pea bottles. Let me try and describe that to you. I was awoken very, very early by a large chrysalis lit up inside in the tent, and I wondered what on earth was going on. And Steve was tucked in his sleeping bag, kneeling, trying to wee into a bottle without spilling a drop. Well, it frightened the life out of me, I'll tell you. Anyway, there you go. We got up hoping for some sunshine to warm the camp. It was getting pretty cold by then. And the route was very, very cloudy. It was misted. We're about 8,000 feet now on the edge of the Kahiltna Glacier going into the Kahiltna Northeast Fork. And thankfully it did seem to warm up, and we struck camp, sorted out equipment and decided to leave a cache behind. Now this is quite common on trips like this. You leave supplies behind. And the reason you do that is you may be wanting them for the return journey. So there's no need to take them all the way up the mountain to bring them all the way back down again. And also you may be doing shuttle runs forwards and backwards to pick equipment up and keep the weight down. Now, one thing you do need to know about this is that you need to dig your cache in deep and mark it with a wand, as the Alaskans call them, flags to you and me. And the reason is, first, you've got to find the thing, but secondly, if you just stick it under the ice and there's a big melt, and this has happened, your bag ends up on the surface, and I'm told the ravens will strip it bare. So let's not have that. So we dug a cache. We sorted a load of git out, and suddenly it was midday. Time really seemed to fly out there. Anyway, we've got some climbing to get up to, or certainly get close to the mountain. And so we began a steady uphill drag with me leading and no bag. I was running point. I was crevasse man. Now there's a reason for this too. The person at the front is probably going to be the first one that falls down a crevasse if you don't see it under your feet first. And you don't want sledges and rucksacks and tons of weight on your shoulders to make that even worse. So you might think you're having an easier day, but every foot you might go through that ice. The pace was awfully slow. We only made 4 miles by the evening's camp, but we had been dodging crevasses with poor visibility, hampering our progress, and there was lots and lots of deep snow, which didn't help. Now, we were using snowshoes, but even then, deep powder snow is tough work. And if any of you have used crampons or anything else before in deep snow and it's up to your knees or your top of your legs, you'll know how tough that is. What was beautiful, though, is that it was so cold at one point, snow fell like glitter. I've only ever seen this twice in my life, once on McKinley, once in Greenland. It literally is like having the glitter you remember as a child being thrown around in the air in front of you. And as the sunbeams catch it, there is just nothing like it. We whacked on as hard as we could, and as I say, made those 4 miles. We're a mile short of what we hoped, but hey, that's just the way we are. We dug ourselves in, cooked and set up for the 8 p.m. weather forecast from Annie at the ranger base. What we had was a portable radio, and just before 8 o'clock every night, I would take the batteries out of my pocket, push them into the radio, fire it up, and listen to the forecast. And it says here, it brings good news, light winds, a little snow, and mild for the next few days, just what we hoped for. I was disappointed we couldn't make our destination as time marches on. And with most mountaineering trips or any big overseas trip, usually the only 2 things set are the time you fly and the time you come home. You can make all the plans you like in the middle, but it doesn't mean they're going to work. As it says here, we only have so many days to crack this ridge. Well, we did. We had a good meal though, but nobody had followed us. And I know there were an American team behind us, but they don't seem to have been in our footsteps. And they were on skis. I was surprised at that. But they'll be behind us. And it did feel a very, very lonely place with just the 3 of us. Occasionally today, the sun burned through the cloud, and we often had large views of the mountains, but very rarely. We saw large groups now attempting what's known as the Washburn route, which is the more standard route on the peak. And I wrote here, best of luck to every one of them. I hope they all come home safely. I sat in the tent that evening. We tried to get in as late as we possibly could, spending all the time we could out, eating out if we could, and then piling in at the very end. And again, those beautiful little crystals of glitter fell again and really brought a beautiful end to the day. Well, except for my smell. That sweaty and awful salty feeling and pong has decided to suddenly rise upon me. We're only a few days out. I wonder what it'll be like when we all get home.